Hey everyone, it's really good to be in your life houses with you tonight. You know, with winter sports season being over, spring sports season beginning, I was looking at the forecast going in this weekend. Man, you guys that do spring sports, I feel bad for you because you'll have days like yesterday that were like 68, beautiful and sunny. And like I'm looking at the forecast for this weekend because Easter Jam's coming. By the way, if you've been background checked and you help out with our kids ministry, we need your help on Resurrection Weekend for Easter services and at Easter Jam. You need to hit Dina and Taryn up and go, we want to help. Because they need some help with all those services. We're hoping for like over 3,000 people at our services Easter weekend, and we really need some help on Saturday. So if you've been background checked and you can help, please, 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 please let Dina and Taryn know. Help out on Saturday. Yes. Anyways, I was thinking about this because I was looking at the forecast for this weekend for Easter Jam, and I was like, man, last thing I would want to do, because the forecast is 38 degrees and snow. What if I had to play soccer in that? What if I had to run track in that? What if I had to play golf in that? I was like, I would not want to do that. And I feel for you guys. Like, and spring is so close. I was walking up my stairs to my house last night. I look up in this tree, and every year there's a pair of cardinals that hang out in this one tree in my front yard. I don't know if it's the same pair of cardinals. I don't know if it's like a different pair or same girl cardinal, different boy cardinal, whatever. But like it got me thinking about this message for tonight about relationships. You see, we've been in the Sacred Moments series on Sunday mornings that if you're not here on Sundays, you're missing out on really great content. Last week we talked about birth. This week we're talking about marriage. And I understand a lot of you guys are miles and miles and miles away from marriage. However, a lot of the stuff that you're constantly taking in are pointed towards something that does impact your world on a daily basis. It's relationships. Like you look at the things that you're the things that you are watching on TikTok, on YouTube, on your Instagram channel, stuff like that lean towards relationship. You look at relationships in the news, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, like you almost get tired and exhausted of people talking about this. However, relationships are the biggest part of your world. I think about those Cardinals. Their relationships really aren't that complex. Like, I don't think that cardinal lays her eggs, sits on them in a nest, and when the boy cardinal goes off, doesn't like sit and contemplate and going, I wonder if they're going to come back. What do they think of me? I wonder what they think of my hair today. And the boy cardinal isn't going, man, I bet she's going to leave me for that other. Like, it's not that complex in that world. However, in our world, relationships are very complex. I would argue that it's the biggest source of hurt in forming who we are over the course of our lifetime than almost anything. And here's the tough thing about this is the relationships that get the biggest voice are many times the relationships that are the least invested in our world. And so what Scott shared on Sunday morning really caught my heart. He made this statement that I've got the note here. Like I think I wrote it down like over and over and over again. It said, what if the purpose of our relationships is to make us holy? Like to make us holy would be, the definition of being made holy would be setting you apart for God. What if that was the purpose of all of our relationships on earth, was to set our soul and our lives apart for our Creator, for the one who loves us best, loves us most, is the most invested in our lives. And so this is how this might play out, because you might go, I don't understand how that works out. Well, if you would look at the people that you have next to you and you look at the complexity of relationships, a relationship that's well lived and well cared for is full of a couple things. It's full of sacrifice, servitude, and honestly, everyone's going to say love, but love is sacrifice, demonstrated by Jesus sacrificing himself on a cross, being the perfect image of love. So as I look at this, if I'm looking at sacrifice, servitude, and love as being core to healthy relationships, that does mean that every relationship that I'm engaging in should be giving me the opportunity to take that posture with others, and I should have the opportunity of having others taking that posture in my life as well. It's like this mutually benefiting, mutually impacting relationship. What do they call those in your biology classes? Symbiotic, I think. Like they're mutually beneficial. It should be that way. And Parker was reminding me about a test that you can put your relationships through to go, okay, are these the right types of relationships in my world for me to have to be a healthy person growing towards God? And had this simple phrase, and I stole it from a lady in Omaha, that she said, in all of your relationships, you should pour it through a filter of asking yourself, are these people trustworthy? And what we mean by that, like, do I have trustworthy friends? A trustworthy friend would never ask you to do something that would physically harm you, okay? A trustworthy friend would never allow you or encourage you to keep a secret from your parents. Think about that one for a minute. Any moment that a person would look at you and like ask you to do something or ask you to be somewhere and you can't tell your parents, like it's kind of like, ugh, is this really a trustworthy person? And the last one is a trustworthy person would never ask you to do something that goes against God's will for your life. So you think about that friend that would encourage you to engage in any kind of behavior that your soul is telling you this goes against the will of God. I should not be here, the minute that your gut is twisting. If you have friends that are putting you in those circumstances or people that are next to you, those friends are likely not trustworthy. And this is why it's important to evaluate those friend groups, is because it's very true that you are going to become a version of the three people that you're closest to. Think about that for a minute. Think about the way that you dress. Think about the way that you talk. Think about the music you like. Think about the movies you engage with. Think about all of those things. I guarantee you have become a version of the three people that are closest to you. It doesn't mean you're exactly the same, but you've picked up some of their phraseology. You wear some of the shoes that they like, or you like a little bit of their fashion style. All of those things, you will become a version of the three people closest to you. And this is why this is important, you guys. In the book of Psalms, chapter 1, it talks about a person that has placed two people. The first person is one that has placed themselves in a seat of rough influence, and the second is talking about the person that has allowed God to speak truth and life into their world. And there's two different results here, and I want you to hear this. From Psalm chapter 1, blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked, or stand in the way of sinners, or sit in the seat of mockers. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and on his law he meditates day and night. He is like a tree that is planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither, and whatever he does prospers. Not so the wicked. They are like the chaff, which is like the crusty part of a seed. Like if you eat peanuts, you open the shell and there's that papery stuff. Not so the wicked. They are like the chaff that the wind blows away. Therefore the wicked will not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the assembly of the righteous. For the Lord watches over the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked will perish. The writer of Psalms is talking in this moment the impact element of your relationships. He understands that the people that we keep next to us are going to have a huge impact on the life that we live and the priorities that we see. And like he talks about, blessed is the person whose delight is in the law of the Lord, and on that law he meditates day and night. I think he's contrasting two scenarios. Who is getting the biggest voice into your life? The first one that he described is worldly people. He uses the phrase wicked, sinners, and mockers. Those are like people that are purely living the way that the world lives, and the people that have a loud voice shouting into your world. And he's sitting going, why would you put yourself next to them? They are not speaking life into your world. And if the purpose of your relationships is to help you to become holy, you need to start with allowing the God of creation to speak life into who you are. I mean, I totally get it. You guys have people shouting at you from all different angles. You have people shouting on your social media channels. You have people shouting at you in person, very concerned about what people and all these different people groups around your school, what do they think of me? What are they judging me? What are they like? And you feel all this pressure. And God is saying, would you consider listening to the voice of truth? Would you consider for a moment, son of mine, daughter of mine, would you consider what I think of you? That's why the writer is saying, blessed is the one whose delight is in the law of the Lord and who meditates on it day and night, because that person is allowing the truth of God to be spoken into their heart daily, minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, week by week, month by month, listening to that voice of truth. And if the purpose of our relationships is to make us holy, if we've allowed God to speak into our lives, that relationship, the way that you're going to step into your friendships is going to be very different. You're going to be more of a steady, consistent, immovable person that will be a model of sacrifice, servitude, and love that God has modeled for you. You're going to be modeling that for others. And friends, those types of relationships are going to make you holy when you begin to understand that you've been set apart to love people differently. And I'm not talking just about romantic relationships. Look at your friendships next to you. I mean, we see you, we hear you talking, the way that sometimes you speak to one another, or honestly, the way that you speak behind one another's backs. You're not becoming very holy. And if the purpose of those relationships is for you to step into holiness and being set apart for loving God and loving others, your friendships and your relationships are a great place to start. So, a couple things that you should consider. How trustworthy is your friend group? Are you in a place where you can truly thrive and grow as a follower of Christ? Do the people that are closest to you pass, we call a fancy word, the litmus test of they're not asking you to do anything that harms you physically. They don't ask you to keep secrets from your mom and dad. They don't ask you to do things that go against God's will for your life, or they don't encourage these things either. Or just by you being in that friend group, you don't feel pressure to do these things, because if you do, those relationships aren't making you holy. And honestly, you need to have a hard conversation, maybe not with them, maybe with your Father God, about what is right for you. Relationships are hard, you guys. Totally get it. But there's no better place than now in your friendships to practice the type of grace, forgiveness, and servitude and sacrifice that you eventually will take into some kind of romantic relationship in the future that could lead towards marriage. It's God's hope that you would take that posture, the posture that He has modeled for you, into those relationships. Hope you guys have a great week. We'll see you next week.